Thank you. Hey.
It's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. Brenna, good to see you in person. Yes, on the phone.
Cute family, if that's your
Thank
family.
you. That's my
Awesome.
family there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thanks to both
Thank
kids.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
my honor. Tell me,
Just go ahead and get
started?
Yeah.
All right, that
Great.
sounds good. It's good to see you guys. I'm Vivek Ramaswamy. I'll tell you something. I was born in 1985. I'm 37 years old. I'm the first millennial to ever run for president as a Republican. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, I'll tell you something about people my age, about my generation today. I think it's true of all of us. It's definitely true of my generation. We're hungry for a cause. We're hungry for purpose. We're hungry for meaning. At a point in our national history when the things that used to fill that hunger, faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. That leaves a moral vacuum in its wake. That is what allows poison to fill the void. The way I look at it, we're like a bunch of blind bats flying around. We millennials are, okay? Maybe we Americans are. If you're a blind bat flying around a cave, you can't see where you are. You don't know how you figure it out? You send out a sonar signal. It bounces off something, and then it tells me this is where I am. It's what we used to do. It'll bounce off something that is true. My faith in God bounces back, tells me this is where I am in that cave. Send out a signal. It bounces off my family, the two parents that brought me into this world. My father and my mother bounces back, tells me this is where I am. Bounces off the nation of which I am a citizen. This nation bounces back, tells me where I am. The hard work, what I create in the world, bounces back, tells me this is where I am. You know what's happening today is that we send out those signals and then nothing comes back. That's why we're lost. It's like, I learned it, actually, first time I read the Bible, I was at St. X High School in 9th grade. We read the book of Exodus. You want to know what happened? When the Israelites were liberated from their rule under Pharaoh, they were lost in the desert. They could not see the promised land. You want to know what they said? We want to go back and be ruled by Pharaoh. You stop bending the knee to God, you're going to bend the knee to something. That is what's going on in our country right now. We are lost in that desert, hungering for our own vision of the promised land. The left, they prey on that vacuum. They're good at this. They fill that void, that vacuum, with their vision. Race, gender, sexuality, climate. I think one of the things that we need to do better in our movement is we've spent a few years, I'm guilty of this, I've done this myself through the books I've written and otherwise. We shoot that down, we criticize that, but what we need to do is we need to level up. It's time to graduate in the conservative movement to actually solving that problem with a vision of our own. We don't say race, gender, climate, sexual orientation. We have a different vision. God, country, family, and yes, the individual and hard work. That is what it means to be an American. Okay, you ask people, thank you. You ask people my age, what does it mean to be an American today? You get a blank stare in response. I'll tell you, you know what it means to be an American to me? It means you believe in the ideals that set this country into motion. From meritocracy, which is why I said I'll end affirmative action, to actually self-governance over aristocracy, which is why I said I will shut down the administrative state, starting with the Department of Education, to the rule of law, which is why I said I will use the military to secure our border. This is what it means to be an American. And after we rediscover that, us. We'll stand up and declare independence from China. We can make the sacrifices needed to do it if we rediscover who we really are. Okay? Thank you. We have spent a couple of decades, I grew up into it. We've spent a couple of decades celebrating our diversity and our differences. So much that we forgot all the ways we are really just the same as Americans. All right, our diversity is not our strength. Our strength is what unites us across our diversity. Thank you. Without those ideals, we're really just a different looking group of two-legged higher mammals walking a geographic space, doing what our iPhones told us to do on a given day. That's not America. America is a vision of what that place can be. E pluribus unum, we say for a reason. From many, one. That is the dream that won the American Revolution 250 years ago. That is the dream that reunited us after the Civil War 160 years ago. That is the dream that won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is the dream that still gives hope to the free world. And I'll tell you tonight, if we can revive that dream over fractious group identity and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus is going to stop us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. That is what we will revive to save this great nation. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and welcome to Iowa. It's so good to have you here, and I see your beautiful family is here with you today.
Thank you.
Yes, so sweet.
Thank you. Their first time here with me. It's nice.
I was so wonderful to know as mom, I just love campaigning with my family.
Yes.
So good at getting family out on the road. But wanted to ask you a little bit about an issue that we've been hearing a lot about, and I think people want to learn more.
Sure.
And that is what you see as the problems with ESG, that woke Wall Street, what that is doing to affect corporate America, and what that means for us here in Iowa.
Great question, and I know you've been all over this, Brenna, so thank you for your leadership on this as well. So what's going on in America is that the government can't pass their progressive agendas through the front door because we the people say absolutely not to that climate agenda, to that racial equity agenda. So what they're starting to do is deputize private companies to do through the back door what the government couldn't get done through the front door. But here's the dirty little secret. They're using your money, our money, to do it. So the 3 largest asset managers are BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. They're using $20 trillion of our money to force American companies to adopt racial equity programs and emissions caps that most of us would disagree with, that cause us to make less money, and actually suck the air out of a constitutional republic where we're supposed to settle those differences through the political process. So Brenna, I'm not just a believer in writing books about this, though I have, and observe the problem, that's fine. I believe in solving those problems. And so the most recent company I founded is a company called Strive that competes directly with BlackRock and Vanguard by telling companies to knock it off with the politics and to go back and focus on making products and services, yes, for profit, without apologizing for it, because that's what it means to be an American. But thank you very much. But I think that if we're also being very honest about it, it does take 2 to tango. And so though I focused on the top-down problem, there is a cultural problem in the country where their trick only works if we have a culture, a generation that's willing to buy up what they're selling. Okay, and that's why I think we're in the middle of this national identity crisis. I couldn't just solve that through the market. That's why I'm running for president, to do what Reagan did for this country. He led us out of our last national identity crisis in the late 1970s. I think we're in the middle of a national identity crisis now, but there's an opportunity to rediscover who we really are. That's why I made this decision. I think we're going to do it. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, you're the age of my son, and I think your campaign and your decision to run is terrific and exactly what the Republican Party needs to reach out to millennials.
Thank you.
For being here.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So talk to me talk to the group just a little bit about how you can help your generation, this new group of Americans, many of whom are going to play my Social Security, to care about religious liberty, to understand that it's a fight that we must fight to keep it. What's the message to your generation?
So I think the message to our generation is that we know you have a moral hunger, okay? We've been taught by the left to fill that moral hunger by going to Ben & Jerry's and ordering a cup of ice cream with some social justice sprinkles on top, okay? You can't satisfy that moral hunger with fast food. It's not working. We're hungry for something more substantial. And I think that God should not be a four-letter word in our culture, okay? When you have a hole the size of God in your heart, when God does not fill that, something else will instead. And that's what's happening with wokeism and transgenderism and climatism and COVIDism. We're hungering for the real thing. And so I think that we need to see this with compassion. And this is something I do. And I think hold every Republican candidate to this standard. When the other side's media is in disagreement with you, go on their channels, on their home turf, argue the points with reason and defeat them. Go to college campuses across this country. Reach young Americans who think they're standing up to the man by being woke. You can explain to them, you want to be a hippie? You want to be countercultural? You want to stick it to the man? Try calling yourself a conservative. Try calling yourself religious. That's actually what it means to be heterodox and a little hippie today, right? And I think young people, when I go to these college campuses, they're hungry for it. I just think it's up to us not to hide from it, right? And so if you're a presidential candidate and you're not going to go to a college campus because of the questions they give you, you probably shouldn't be sitting across the table from Xi Jinping. Yes, I take some questions when I go to college campuses that are a little tough. That's what it means to be a leader, though. And honest to God, that's why I'm in this race, right? It's my son's right there off stage. He's behaving himself today, so I'm grateful to him for that. But it's for his generation, because if I had been born 20 years later, I don't think my story of living the American dream the way I have, I don't think it would have been possible. Not in the same way, because I would have been taught to think of myself as a victim, right? I've encountered hardship, probably most of us in this room have too. Hardship is not the same thing as victimhood. I think young people in this country need to learn that. Hardship is part of what helps us discover who we really are. Right? Hardship happens to you. Victimhood is a choice. And I think once young people see that, they're going to feel empowered to say that, yes, this country is worth standing up for. That's what moves me. That's what gets me, I'm not even kidding, gets me out of bed every day. That's what this campaign is all about, is a cultural campaign for that next generation. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer. Welcome to our First of the Nation State. We're at the end of our time, but thank you.
Let me end with just one final note of optimism here, because I think it's just true. Okay, they will do me this favor, everybody in this room, reject the only bipartisan consensus we have in this country, which is that we're a nation in decline. We are not. We don't have to be Rome. We don't have to be Carthage. If you just see it with me this way for a second, think of it this way, we're just a little young, actually, going through our own version of adolescence, figuring out who we're really going to be when we grow up. And when we see it that way, I think it just becomes obvious that our best days as a country, not in some cheesy politician-y kind of way, but just like actually in a true way, are actually ahead of us. And I hope you share my confidence that we will get there, and I'm here to help us deliver that to the next generation. Thank you so much. God bless you all. God bless your families. God bless our country and the United States of America. Thank you. Brenna, thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope we can talk.